guys, how's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Blink Twice, the newest thriller hitting theaters, directed by one Zoe Kravitz. We're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about perfume and whatnot, and getting on planes, knowing damn well you don't know them like that, fam, and private islands with snakes and whatnot. It's going to talk about all the things. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die.
Hey everyone, welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We're back for another week, another episode, some podcast goodness, as Jerome would say. I'm Jonathan, and I'm here with my lovely co-hosts, Alex and Jerome. How are y'all doing? Jerome, how you doing?
Doing good. Chilling. I think.
There was a long delay there.
What I did this week. I went on a picnic.
Shoot.
It's because of the internet.
It's not me this time.
You're at fault.
Audience, we've had many technical difficulties. There's something in the air. It must be the heat or something. Because
But no. I want to make it very clear. They have not been my fault today. No technical difficulties have been my fault.
But it's been all right, you know. Nothing too crazy to report. Been mostly just chilling. I haven't really been watching much of anything. I started watching Kinds of Kindness. I say it that way because Kinds of Kindness is like, it's an anthology movie, so there's 3 stories in one. So I watched the first story. I gotta watch the rest on Hulu. So I broke it into parts accidentally because I was watching it while I was tired. So after I got through the first story, I was like, man, look, I don't have the energy for these other 2. And the first one alone was just like, so this is what we doing, huh? All right.
What would your rating be if you just had to, if you couldn't watch the rest of the movie, you just had to watch what you just watched? Like, what would your rating for the movie be?
It'd probably be a C. It's not like offensive or anything like that. Like, or as far as like, you know, it's bad or anything. Just, it's one of those things where it's a weird story, and like a weird short story. And I feel like it's Yorgos Lanthimos, however you pronounce his last name, being like, hey, I made Poor Things, so now being weird is just my thing. And so while this one doesn't go this story doesn't go that crazy, it definitely is like I'm sorry, what is happening? What's going on?
Emma Stone's also in this one, right?
Yeah, she is. So is Willem Dafoe.
Okay,
but Jesse Plemons seems to be like the main focus, though. He's the like main star. And there's also other actors, but like is it Margaret Qualley or Qualley? Is in the first story. She gets a little bit of shine, and yeah, it's weird, but that's fine.
It sounds, with the name, it sounds like one of those like inspirational movies, you know? It's like heartwarming.
At least so far, it's not. It's actually kind of dark. And if anything, it's more about like people's like, I want to say abuse of like relationships, but not in the sense of like abuse, like oh, we're in a relationship, I'm going to like but now I'm gonna like take out my frustrations or inner turmoils on you. And more like abuse, like, hey, you love me, right? Well, if you love me, then do this, that, the third. And that's only the first story. I don't know what the other 2 are. Maybe the other 2 are different types of relationships, but it looks like this is like focusing on just toxic relationships just in general. So maybe that's the irony of the title, is that it's, you know, Kinds of Kindness, but really there's no kindness. I don't know. I'll let you know once I finish the movie.
All right.
Also saw a trailer earlier today. I think it just came out today, actually, for the movie Night Bitch, based off of I think
Oh
a
yeah.
book starring.
I wanted to read that that book, but yeah.
Apparently, reading the comments, a lot of people were like, "This doesn't like." I mean, it is the it is the book, but it doesn't look like as dark as the book is.
Because isn't it about a woman who thinks she's turning into a dog?
Yeah. Like it's like, but this makes it look like she might be actually just turning into a dog. Like that's just it. Like it's at nighttime she turns into an actual dog and has dog-like tendencies in the daytime.
Oh, okay.
So much like a werewolf style going on, where she's turning into an actual dog,
yes,
or like,
but in the sense that like motherhood is the reason.
I mean, that's fair.
Because the tagline of the movie based off the trailer looks like it's about this mom who essentially has been like the motherhood has just been a lot hard on her and her life. She feels like she's kind of like a passenger in her own life at this point, as opposed to the one driving, because everything about her life is about these kids now, and she's on top of that, she's a stay-at-home mom. So all she does is spend her time with these 3 kids, and they're all like, the oldest is probably like 6. So it's like, it's a lot. And I think the surreal element of that is that like, she's feel like, she wants to tap back into that wild side of herself, that animal side that's just like, doesn't care and will do anything. And thus she's turning into a dog. I don't know. That's my read from the trailer, but the trailer is very like, hey, we're just gonna give you like the like cliff notes. We're not gonna really tell you how all this works and what all the themes are just yet. You got to go watch the movie or read the book, I guess, if you want to know for real.
It reminds me of. Do you guys remember that SpongeBob episode where? Did I tell you guys about this already? I don't know if I talked to you guys about. I talked to somebody about this, but that SpongeBob episode where Squidward like accidentally gets poked by Gary's like medicine needle or something.
Yeah, where he becomes a snail.
Yeah. And so he turns into a snail. It reminds me of that SpongeBob episode. Maybe the author was inspired by that or something.
But as far as Amy Adams and even the tagline for the movie is motherhood is a bitch. So like, you prepare to see that on posters everywhere for Night Bitch. Coming to the only thing that's super cheesy is is in the trailer, and I don't know if this is in the movie. She says something to the effect of like, yes, I am a mother, but I'm also the Night Bitch. And I'm like, why are you saying it like you're a superhero or something?
That sounds very Batman. Like, I am the night. I am Batman.
Right. I'm like, what are you going to
So she
fight
calls
crime?
herself that in the movie? Wow.
I guess. or maybe that's the final line at the end of the movie. When like just before the credits rolls, I am the Night Bitch. Just playing the credits. So I don't know, but it looks interesting though. It looks like something that might be like a legit like surprise. So, and I haven't read the book, so I'm intrigued.
That sounds like an intriguing read, especially if they're trying to portray this one more as like almost a supernatural element compared to the book, which might be just more psychological, where this may be her way of like getting to be free from her family. Oh, I got the hiccups. I've had the hiccups all day, and it's driving me bonkers.
You just need to scare you. We'll pick a time where you're in the middle of talking, and we'll just go gah, and then scare you, and it'll make you lose your hiccups.
I don't think that'll work over the screen, but if I get scared in real life, there's a chance somebody's getting punched. I never know which reaction I'm going to have when I get scared. It's either going to be one of the, fight or flight. I never know. I might run away or I might take a swing. I don't even know. You're always welcome to take your bets. Sorry.
Well, this will be the safest you can scare Alex.
Exactly.
Let's just not scare Alex.
Anything else, Jerome? What else?
Well, I don't have much media news for y'all because actually, in between the time of us recording our Alien Romulus review and this review in real time, it's only been like a few days. So
has it? Oh my god! Time.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Has it only?
When did we last talk? What day is it?
I don't even remember.
I don't either.
Or you know what? I think it actually has been a week. I've just been like, nothing's happened.
Mhm.
Nothing of
Oh.
import has happened. People don't like The Crow. That's pretty much the only important. That's the
Oh,
only
I wanted to see that. I low key
I
wanted to
haven't
see
seen
that.
it yet, so I can't judge it for myself. But from what I hear, nobody likes The Crow.
I was not a fan of the original Crow. It was like okay, and I think it was more popular due to what happened on set, unfortunately. But I thought it was like okay, and then wasn't anticipating the remake to be very good either.
Well, this is supposed to be like a readaptation, but I think they made the mistake of having it be so closely tied to the original story, because there's been multiple like as far as the comics goes, the original comic was made by James O'Barr and was about his grief. Like he wrote it dealing with his own grief in losing his wife due to a drunk driver who hit them and killed his wife, and wrote The Crow. But then after he finished, people kept making The Crow because he didn't own it. The company that published it, I think, owns The Crow. So they just kept making Crow comics with new characters and stuff of different people playing or taking on the role of The Crow. And so it's like they didn't have to they could have done another Crow project and not have it so tied to the movie. But I'm sure the studio was like, nah, we're gonna make it like using the same character, like the original back in the 90s. And it's like, don't do that. People are like super attached to the 90s one because of what happened to Brandon Lee, and also how it kind of was like it's considered one of those movies that is a part of the goth culture that was around during the 90s. Like if you're a goth kid from the 90s, you've seen The Crow. If you don't have it on like DVD or VHS, you have it in some other way, shape, or form because you watch it all the time. It's like probably your number one movie of all time because of how much it probably influenced you in your teenage years with your black makeup.
I was always a Mummy girl. The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. I wonder what that says about me. That was always my movie. So I was a kid. Probably way younger. I watched it than I should, but you could see that. I don't like when people say that to me. I could see that. Because there was a day I was hanging out with Lauren and some of her coworkers' friends, and I was talking about a necklace I was wearing, which is metal and leather. And they're like, yeah, that seems like your style. I was like, what the hell do you mean by that? You just met me. What is that supposed to be? I think I'm a little defensive at times.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's me. Alex, what have you been up to? How's your week been?
I've been really good. I finished Kevin Can Go F Himself. That show, which is ironic considering the movie we just watched. Actually, our whole conversation seems to have a little bit of a theme about power and balance and, different perspectives of relationships you see. It's just such a good show. I cannot recommend it more to everybody. It is on Netflix. It has, it has Annie Murphy, Raymond Lee, Eric Peterson, and Mary Hollis Inboden. I apologize if I said that last name wrong. It is just so good, and the way it ends, I'm trying not to give any spoiler. The way it ends is just like, it was one of the most satisfying endings. It's only 2 seasons, and they made it so it only lasts 2 seasons. And it was just like, the way they ended it was so satisfying to the audience and so comforting, and it just, things fell properly into place, and they never rushed anything. They never rushed any of the storylines, which I really appreciate, because they did plan for 2 seasons, so they mapped it out for 2 seasons. They didn't stick any storylines in there that had to be abandoned. They really concluded everything, and it was just, again, I cannot recommend this show enough. It's really good. And then speaking of Raymond Lee, he's in the show Quantum Leap, which only has, again, 2 seasons. I think that's my sweet spot with shows right now.
They wanted us to film an episode of that at my job.
Did they, or they wanted to?
Quantum Leap. They wanted to.
They should have.
It didn't end up working out.
I just started watching it. It's a fun. I used to watch the old one back in.
I was surprised when they did the reboot, because I was like, who's asking for more Quantum Leap?
I like Quantum Leap.
No, it's good.
Again, yeah,
it's a good show.
You know what? I would love for them to bring back Sliders. I love Sliders growing up, because that was
what is that?
It's with the multiverse, Jerry O'Connell, where they used to slide into literally different universes trying to find their way home, because they had this one that could open up portals to different universes, and it was like different storylines. Like they took, I forget the author's name, but her story, Lucky, which is where like people play the lottery, and the higher amount, the more of a risk you are, and it's the way they control population. It's the winners of the lottery are the ones who get killed. The story's called Lottery. I'm sorry, not called Lucky. Story's called Lottery. There's another one where like men are a rarity. They actually like, there's so few men in the world, they keep them actually in a facility and only used for breeding purposes. And that's a lovely story for a woman. Love you guys. But it's stories like that. It just shows different universes. And they're not complex storylines. They're very simple ones that, they don't go far-fetched. Like, here's how this one turn of events led to all these events. They're very simple storylines where you're like, that makes sense. Yeah, I could see that happening. Not like a dramatic telling of something. It was just a very simple, like, yeah, they explained how it happened, how the world went this way, and it was just simple as that. I would love for them to bring back Sliders. Sliders was such a good show back in the 90s. And yeah, I would watch it all over again. But yeah, Kevin Can Go F Himself. I recommend to like everybody. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. It's just so good, so satisfying. And the way, because it's half thriller, half comedy, it's from the husband perspective. It's a sitcom comedy from Kevin's side. And then the wife's side is like the horror and thriller and suspenseful side. And the way they use coloring, the warm tones for the sitcom and the colder tones for the reality is just so good. And how they switch perspectives when a character is pulled out from the sitcom world into the real world, it's just so cool how they do it. It's so seamless. And it's just, again, cannot recommend that show enough. So go watch Kevin Can Go F Himself on Netflix. So good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But other than that, I went to a Metallica concert.
Yeah,
I saw that.
And or not pictures, videos on TikTok.
Yeah, it was crazy. And going to the concert in your 30s compared to your like young 20s, man, I am not in that mindset, because I was like really high up in the nosebleed stands, which I don't mind. I like those. But just watching all the young people like do the mosh pit and standing, down there, and I'm just like,
you're like, I'm safe up here.
Yeah, all I kept thinking was like, I cannot toss like that like I used to. I cannot be pushed around like that, I just kept thinking, I'm like, this looks fun, but at the same time, yeah, I'm like, if somebody bumps me, I'm gonna be like, don't touch me. I'm like, I'm too tired for this. But it was really good. It was really fun. And yeah, I've never been to a heavy metal concert, so it was really like cool to experience that. So that was like a lot of fun. Other than that, my week's been pretty chill. How about you, Jonathan? How you doing?
Good. And on the Kevin Can F Himself note, I saw something on social media where someone was praising the show as well. So that definitely reminded me of when you were talking about it. So yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. But yeah, my week's been good. For what I have done yesterday, I actually was on set, and I filmed something for the History Channel.
Ooh,
cool.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool, and it was literally like right down the street from my house. So I went there, shot for a day. It was Memorial Day, so I was already off of work. So I'm like, hey, this is perfect timing.
Can you tell us the show, or like?
I don't know if I could say on the internet, but I'll tell you guys but I'll tell you guys after we stop recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. Tune into the Psychic Channel audience and use your mind powers if you want to find out what he says. It's
right.
the only way.
Exactly. Hey, maybe I'll expose a secret if we hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah, so audience, get to subscribing.
Yeah, because then we'll actually have enough money to monetize and make up the cash.
Subscribe so we can break some NDAs.
Right.
I'm still under contract with Disney.
Hey. But for what I've watched, so on Sunday, I watched a film that recently came out. Well, I watched two films. I watched the movie that we're talking about today, and then I came home. I don't know why I did this to myself, because it was just more like madness on top of madness. But I watched The Deliverance.
Why?
The new
Lee Daniels joint.
the new Lee Daniels film starring Andra Day, Glenn Close, Monique, and Ingenue Ellis Taylor. It is a Jerome. I already know you don't do like the demon. Those types of
I
movies.
just watched I watched Double Toasted's review on it because I was like, I'm not gonna watch the movie, so I'm not worried about spoilers or nothing. Y'all just tell me.
Wait, where did you watch Deliverance?
It's on Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I have it on my queue. Now I remember. Okay, sorry. Go on.
So I didn't really know anything about. As you know, I don't tend to watch trailers. I just know, oh my gosh, Andra Day, Glenn Close, Monique. So I went into it I knew it was like a thriller / possible horror. Did not realize what I was in for. Especially, I won't spoil it for the audience. Like, if you don't care about listening, or if you care about not hearing anything about the movie, then maybe fast forward a couple seconds. But
I've only seen one still of Glenn Close in a certain look, and I was just like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Yeah.
I guess I know how this movie ends then.
Well, don't tell me how it ends, because I would.
I won't tell you. I won't tell you how it ends.
I wasn't going to tell you. I'm just
wild.
saying
it's just
that's
wild.
the picture I've seen already, and I was just like, oh.
Wait, so how does it end, though?
No. You want to know?
Kind of, yeah. I'll probably watch it, but I
you're
kind of
going to watch it. Aren't you going to watch it?
I'm fine with spoilers.
Here, I won't spoil it. You're gonna,
but
you're gonna be thankful.
So Glenn Close dies. I feel like I'm getting that vibe, or she's possessed.
I cannot.
She clearly gets possessed.
But all that aside, Andra Day and Glenn Close especially, because Monique is in it, but she's like in and out. Same with Ingenue Ellis Taylor, but Andra Day and Glenn Close are, because they play mother and daughter. They are like the standouts in the movie, and they killed it. Andra Day, she's like in every single scene in the movie, and she does an outstanding job. The kids, you have Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things. What's her name? Demi Singleton from King Richard. She played Serena. And then the young kid, I don't know his name, but he was amazing as well. So everyone really like brought it to the plate when it came to acting, and yeah, they did a really good job. Was not expecting all the demon stuff, like I said, but it was.
Did you know good. the true story that the movie was based on before you watched it?
No, not before. And after that, I like looked into it, watched a couple like videos about it, and was like reading up on it, and it's like it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, I just so happened to be eating Lucifer's pizza at the same time while I was watching this movie.
See, nah,
I just
eating the devil's pizza. All right, that's Satan's
and
pizza.
It really.
Let me guess. It cost $6.66.
If I owned a place like that, I definitely would call it. I would all the pricing, all the
$6 because they had on. I was like on Sunday. I was like, I'm really in the mood for some pizza. And they just so happened to have a buy one get one free pizza deal at Lucifer's Pizza. So I'm like, oh, let me get that.
They rope you in. The buy one get one free. Next thing you know, they're going to be asking, well, the price is quite affordable. It only cost you your soul. And also 34 cents on top of that, plus tax.
The tax.
But don't forget tip. There's no reason to be so rude to service people.
Right. I don't think I'll be purchasing from there again because one, it's called Lucifer's, and secondly, I'm pretty sure they Chuck E. Cheesed me, and by that I mean I think they used slices from a different pizza and put it on the one pizza and put them together to make one whole pizza. For mine. Ooh. And I will show you picture proof. I don't know if you'd be able to see it in the camera, but
in my head, that just would make me laugh. It's like, I got a pepperoni. Of course, we gave you a medium pepperoni. Then why the hell is there a Hawaiian slice sitting in the middle of my damn pizza?
Okay, look, can you see that? See how
that does not look like
even ass pizza.
But like straight up, that looks like
circles of circumference.
That looks like two halves of a different pizza.
That is whack. I'm literally gonna post a review and like contact Postmates because I ordered it through Postmates or Uber Eats and then picked it up. I'm literally gonna contact them and see, because
they should change their name to Pizza by Puzzle Piece.
Maybe they're like somebody ordered half a pizza, another person ordered half a pizza, not realizing they made two whole pizzas. Happened? They're like, we could just put this together.
Because they don't sell pizza by the slice there, so how?
That's even worse.
I'm thinking, like, did an employee like make a pizza and then they only ate half of it, so they decided to give the other half to me? Like,
either that or what it is they cut it up. It looked all nice. Then he dropped the box. He's like, "Ah, shit! I gotta put pieces together."
Oh, send me those pictures.
So we could take them down together.
Yeah, we'll take them down together.
This is what happens when you put growth hormone in pizza.
I think those are both reasonable reasons not to order from Lucifer's Pizza anymore.
Probably just that's just that man's day. My thing is that I'm like, I feel like after, like, it became very common that the devil's name was Lucifer. You can't name anybody Lucifer anymore because people just think they're the devil, especially if they're evil. You know what I mean? Like,
especially if they're evil.
Gonna perpetuate the point. I feel like it'll be a stereotype if you Lucifer and evil.
You can see my socks in that photo, Alex.
I love it.
Okay.
You know what? That's how you know it is the devil's pizza, because it's Lucifer's pizza. He's like, I'm not actually. Look, I'm trying to buy souls out here, not actually serve pizza. Man, screw it. Go on down to the Domino's real quick.
What?
Get me a few slices and put those together.
It looks like what it looks like is like these 3 slices right here were not part of your original pizza. Like everything else, like side by side. All of a sudden, this is like these 3 don't match.
Because I tried to line up like the pepperoni on it, and the pepperonis don't line up. Neither do like the crust.
I like how
you're doing actual investigation. Like, see, like, this don't match up. This ain't right.
These have some pepperoni that match up, but that slice right there, that slice specifically, does not belong to that pizza. There's no pepperoni matchup, and then it's just all of a sudden it's like smaller than all the other pieces.
I just like the idea of Jonathan before he's eating a pizza, just picking up piece by piece and maneuvering it around to make sure that this pizza actually lines up.
Hell, if I would too, if they're trying to Chuck E. Cheese me.
Right.
Like, should I be touching this? There was one time I got so mad. I ordered a pizza by Postmates from Delfino's, which is like Chicago style pizza. Super excited to get it. I literally go downstairs because I don't want the Postmates to have to wait for me if I come downstairs. So I come downstairs, wait there, literally see a car zoom past me.
That was your pizza?
That was my pizza, because then a second later, your food's been delivered. No, it's not. I saw him leave. I saw the little car go vroom. I was like, you had the nerve to still drive by my house?
Yo, yeah, because they're going to check his route.
They're going to know I didn't get the pizza.
Did you report it?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because then, like, the driver gets, like, a strike or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. You stole my pizza.
Right.
So Jonathan can't eat pizza unless it's synchronized. This is now a fun fact about Jonathan. We have now learned.
I feel like that should be a thing for everybody, though.
I'm just happy to eat pizza.
And mind you, that pizza that I sent you the picture of, I just took that today because I got the pizza on Sunday. Because remember, I told you like it was a buy. So I already had eaten the other pizza. I've been eating pizza like this whole week, and I already ate that other pizza.
Healthy.
And I noticed.
Yeah, you should. Have you been eating greens too?
Yeah, it's just for like my dinner. You know,
okay.
I've been mixing it. I ate a nice sandwich with some big chunks of lettuce on it today. So, but I ate the other pizza I ate, I noticed it was slightly misaligned as well, but I didn't think too much of it. And then I opened that pizza and it was glaringly obvious that it was misaligned. I was like, oh no.
You got Chuck E. Cheese.
It's like, I want my pizza like my haircut. I want it lined up, crisp.
I'm more concerned, Jerome, that you don't want your pizza lined up properly.
I mean,
like, you're
pizza.
cool with
like,
the puzzle pizza?
It's regardless if it's lined up or not, it's going in the same place.
Not if it's been touched by someone. I don't know who's touched it. I don't know if they like sold it and some family didn't eat their slices, so they like gathered them all up.
That'd be funny. we only ate half of it, so here, take this half back.
That would be disgusting. I would sue. This could be grounds to sue. Let's get a case together.
Your Honor, as you can see clearly from this picture, this pizza wasn't aligned. And as we know, if the pepperonis don't line up, they're inclined to pay up. So
let me tweet at them. I'm gonna
tweet at
them.
It was very short notice, all right? The rhymes don't always just make themselves.
I'm gonna tweet at them if they have a Twitter. Anyway,
I got it. Here we go. Here's the defense. They'd be like, listen, if the pizza doesn't line up, then you shouldn't have signed up. All right.
You're not OJing me. If the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit.
Lord. You guys exasperate me.
Anyway, that's been my saga for the last few days.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of an abuse of power, much like being a pizza chef,
we trust them. We trust them with our food.
We do trust them. We trust them to give us lined up pizzas. Blink Twice, the movie we're reviewing. We saw it this past weekend.
We did.
I mean, it's been out already, but we finally got a chance to see it, and we're reviewing it today.
We are. Blink Twice. Also, trigger warning, this movie does deal with sexual abuse. So
just abuse in general too.
Abuse in general. So just know that those matters and issues related to them will be discussed in this episode. But Blink Twice is a film, a psychological thriller film. And there we go. When tech billionaire Slater King meets cocktail waitress Frida at his fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. As strange things start to happen, Frida questions her reality. This movie is directed by Zoe Kravitz. It's her directorial debut. Stars Naomi Ackie, Channing Tatum, Alia Shawkat.
I think Shawkat.
Christian Slater, Simon Rex, Adria Arjona, Haley Joel Osment, Liz Carabell, Levon Hawke.
Is he related to Ethan Hawke?
Ethan Hawke, maybe it's his son. Let's see.
Could be.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I think so. Because it says he was in a movie.
He does look a little like him.
It says he was in the movie Maya Hawke Missing Out, and that's Ethan Hawke's
that's
daughter.
his sister.
Wow. All right. Okay, Ethan Hawke.
Listen, the Skarsgårds and the Gleasons are not going to be the only family out here making movies.
He is the son of Ethan and Uma Thurman.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, he did a good job. This looks like this is his first real thing that he's done.
Yeah, the Hawk Dynasty is starting.
For real. He was in a miniseries called The Crowded Room. But anyways, if this is your first time listening to one of our reviews, basically how we do it, we'll first go through our non-spoiler thoughts. We'll talk general discussion of the movie. Did we like it? Did we not? Then we'll give you a warning before we go into our spoiler section. So, who wants to go? Jerome, you are looking like you are wanting to go first.
Me.
That's just his face.
That's just my eager face. um, I am liking this movie. I think it's first of all a strong directorial debut for Zoe Kravitz. Like, it always is interesting to see actors turned directors, like how they start out their journey as a director, because some of them do it very subtle, they're very quiet, and others they come out swinging, like swinging for the fences. And it's always interesting to see like what they do and how they do it. Like I think think about like Bradley Cooper, for example, with A Star Is Born, where I'm like, man, that movie is amazing as a like first time director directorial debut. And this movie also is like big swings as far as like the camera work, the editing, a lot of the cinematography. And I know a lot of that is also like, the crew around her helping with some of that stuff, but for the most part, like at the end of the day, as a director, she still kind of gets final say on a lot of this stuff, and it's just really good. But she's not the only one who came to actually work. Everybody in the cast doing a phenomenal job portraying these characters and doing a great job with the dialogue. A lot of especially this being another one of those, it's a very modern film. Listen to the way they talk and things they talk about. Like it's very like the therapy culture talk, and rich people talk. It's not trying too hard. It's not like Bodies where it's like this is a commentary on more like on Gen Z slang terms and things like that. This is more millennial-esque as far as like some of the like language used, but it still is very modern in the things they talk about and how they talk about things. The biggest thing I can point to as far as like the strength of this movie is the fact that like you don't know what's going on for a large portion of this movie, but you always do know from the start of this movie something's not quite right, like something is off. And this movie does a great job of like really ramping up and slowly twisting that tension the whole movie, of you trying to like piece together what's happening and what's going on and why are like everything on paper looks cool and looks all right, and there's no really extremely clear indication that something is wrong. It just looks like a bunch of people partying, but something is wrong and I don't know what it is, and it has me on edge because I know there's something is wrong. And so it's like, and just the breadcrumbs they place in this movie, really well done from a script writing standpoint as well. We just talked about Alien Romulus and how well that movie handles a lot of its breadcrumbs and its story plot points, and it allows the script to flow. Here, it's the same thing, where it's like there's a lot of really interesting breadcrumbs that they place. And also even when it comes to characters' backstories, like we don't learn a whole lot about all of these characters, but we learn just enough to really know why they are the way they are and why a lot of the things and decisions they make are the decisions they make. And I think that's really good storytelling, and that we don't get like we don't get a long drawn out scene where Frida gives her long drawn out backstory. Like, no, we get like little breadcrumbs and pieces of her backstory and things that affect her, that it's like, oh, okay, got you. I know who you are. I know how you operate, that sort of stuff. And I like the whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, this movie feels like what Don't Worry Darling was trying to be but couldn't be. This is the movie that is that movie. So overall I enjoyed the film. I think it's a great movie, really interesting thriller. It is dark, I will say that. Like, I think, because I remember, I'm watching the movie, this movie, audience, just so you know, does have its own trigger warning actually in the movie. The second the movie starts up, there's a trigger warning being like, hey, this movie talks about abuse and sexual assault, yada yada. So if you're, these things are triggering to you, here's a website for resources and so on and so forth. So they are very respectful to that. And that has been a bit of a discussion as of late, of people wondering if that's, because some people claiming that like that's a spoiler for the movie. I'm like, it's like, and on one hand, I'm like, I can see what you're saying, but on the other hand, after having seen the movie, I feel like it's a little fitting because it's like even I like because it makes me think of movies like what's the movie that's similar to this? I Spit on Your Grave. It reminds me of those movies where this movie never gets that graphic, but it's the same like level of darkness. Like when you see like some of the stuff that happens in this film, I would say. And so, that and those movies I feel like should come with trigger warnings. So I feel like it is fitting. But that's just me personally. That's my opinion on it.
Talking about the trigger warning, I actually talked about that with my mom because I was like, yeah, I knew it was going to get dark, but I didn't realize how dark it was going to get because there was this one scene, which we'll talk about later, where it kind of the truth is being revealed. And I was like, whoa, okay. They kind of show a lot more. And I was talking to my mom about that. And she's like, well, that's something I wouldn't really want to watch. Because at first she's like, oh, I want to watch, Blink Twice. It kind of looks good. And then I kind of explained what was going on. She's like, yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to watch that at all. She's like, that would have made me, really uncomfortable. So the trigger warning is kind of nice when at certain points, especially for people who, either had to deal with that situation. The movie's kind of hiding that in aspect. I don't think it's a real spoiler unless you're like trying to figure out sorry, checking on my audio. Trying to figure out, oh, why is this in here? Maybe just wait and watch it.
Well, from oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because to kind of combat people's belief that it was a spoiler, like from jump, you realize that this is kind of like it's talking about the beginning of the movie. Like Channing Tatum's character is, you see him, like she's watching a video of him talking about something that he did and he's apologizing for it. So I felt like going in with that energy, it's not too much a spoiler because you know that he's apologizing for doing something that you can only imply or think that he's done, if that makes sense.
That's true. There's this whole undertone that he admits in the beginning of the movie, and I think in a couple previews, that he's apologizing for abusing his power, for manipulation, and that everybody's like, well, do you think you really should be forgiven? He's like, there's only so many times I can say I'm sorry. So, but I actually pretty much enjoyed the movie. It's a lovely one of those movies I can say fuck men again during the whole film. But I like how it ended. The way it ended was a bit of a twist for me. I didn't see that coming, so I kind of enjoyed that. And I loved the two main women in the film and how they ended up, the relationship they ended up building, because they could have pitted them against each other throughout the film, but it ended up being such a better relationship with the route they went. So I'm trying not to give too much away, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. It was pretty solid. And it didn't, again, have any of those plot lines out of nowhere that they have in horror films to try to make a backstory more deeper for the character or try to give the character more substance. All the story that you needed from the character's background was given that was important to the main story. They didn't try to squeeze in extra, which is appreciated. And the movie didn't have that long of a runtime. Because my movie with preview started, I think, at like 2:15 and it ended at 4:40 or something. And so it was like less than a 2-hour film almost. So that
I think
was
it was
like
a little less than 2 hours.
Yeah, so that was kind of nice where it was like it didn't drag anything out. So I appreciate
it says
that.
the runtime's an hour 42. So
Oh, yeah, it felt perfectly timed. Like nothing felt rushed, nothing was slow, nothing felt like they were dragging it out. So they should take note, at least for the Zoe Kravitz did really well on time framing. That was, yeah. So I appreciate that. What about you, Jonathan? What do you think of the movie?
I second both of your guys' thoughts. I enjoyed this film. I think it definitely towed the right line between showing what needed to be shown, but also restraining when it needed to be restrained, because some movies fall victim to this, where it's just like trauma porn from front to back. And then some movies also fall victim to not showing enough, and it's like, okay, you're trying to tackle an issue, but you don't want to actually go there. I thought this
Don't worry, darling.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought this movie actually went there, and in an appropriate way. I think the trigger warnings were definitely appropriate. I think from the marketing as well. The marketing, it marketed it so that people knew that this movie was about what it was about. Also, take notes. It ends with us, because I know that movie did not market the domestic violence in it at all. So Blake Lively.
One actor tried to. He tried his best. I will give him that.
That's true.
The lead actor.
The director.
I apologize. Was it director or was it the male actor?
He was
both.
the director and the lead actor. He's both.
Oh, he was? I didn't know that.
Justin. What's his name? Justin something.
Some people were like talking about this, like, did this man just make this movie just so he could show off how handsome he is?
Justin Baldoni.
Because you direct yourself like, all right, y'all, now I'm going to get in front of the camera and I'm going to take my shirt off. So when I take my shirt off and show off the muscles, I want you to put the camera right here. Like, this man's trying to make his own Instagram glamour shots. He's trying to make his own thirst traps.
Oh my God, he was the guy in Jane the Virgin.
Mm-hmm.
I liked him in that show.
Yeah, I overall enjoyed it. The movie was visually stunning. I thought a lot of the choices that Zoe Kravitz and the team made were very good, especially with like the music. I thought the script was great, and I think everyone really like played their part in the cast as well. So yeah, I just enjoyed everything about this movie. I mean, this movie was supposed to be called, it was a working title of Pussy Island. I felt like that.
Oh my God, that was Pussy Island?
Yes, this is what this movie was originally called.
I remember
it
that.
All circled back.
No, but I remember that when you showed us your 10,000 Google tabs. And I was like, why do you have Pussy Island up?
No,
what
that's
is
why
going
I said
on?
It all circles back. We haven't. That was
Oh
a long
my
time
God.
ago.
I forgot about that. I must have blocked that out.
I cannot forget how many tabs you had open. And it still stresses me out. I have like nightmares about it to this day. Like I'm trapped in your browser with all the tabs.
But Zoe Kravitz, I'm reading the article right now. Zoe Kravitz said, in January 2024, the film's title was changed from Pussy Island to Blink Twice. Kravitz explained that issues formed with the MPA not wanting to put it on a poster or a billboard or a kiosk, movie theaters not wanting to put it on a ticket, but also mentioned, interestingly enough, after researching it, women were offended by the word. And women seeing the title were saying, I don't want to see that movie, which is part of the reason why I wanted to try and use the word, which is trying to reclaim the word and not make it something that we're so uncomfortable using. But we're not there yet. And I think that's something I have the responsibility as a filmmaker to listen to.
Well, that's
I
fair.
also feel like when you say Pussy Island, it sounds more directed like that's because of how the word has been used. It's like a man's movie. Like it's going to be a raunchy comedy, and it's like, oh great, another one of those. Like
that's what I thought it was at first. Yeah,
like it ended up being like Hot Tub Time Machine or something. It definitely wouldn't have gotten the attention, or at least it wouldn't have gotten the female attention the way it wanted to, and you end up just having a bunch of men going to see this movie, like Hot Tub Time Machine, or like
and just being all like, this isn't what I wanted at all. Also, in my mind, I just feel like that just I just don't I think because like on my head it's how I feel this. I feel the same way about like because we talked about it earlier, Night Bitch, where I'm like, I mean, that's I don't know how that title's gonna do as far as because I think it's a PG-13 movie, so like it's not like rated R, but I don't know how well it's going to do on a marketing front because who wants to put that in their movie theater like Bobby,
Yeah, you gonna have
where
you gonna
kids
have
are coming through.
you gonna have Hoda Kotb on the Today Show saying Amy Adams from the movie Night Bitch on the Today Show at 10 a.m.
I like how your voice dropped a little when you said bitch. But also the immediate reaction we had for Pussy Island was to laugh. And this movie is so much, it's just a reaction you have. It's like, you laugh. And this movie's so serious, and with the horror elements and the thriller and just like the seriousness of the issues taking place in the movie about the power imbalance and manipulation. You don't want that reaction. You don't want people just to laugh at your title. Blink Twice is a good title because people have said that. Oh, blink twice if you're in danger. Wear this color if you need help or something. So that definitely does add more seriousness to the whole movie. The title really should reflect what the movie's about. And I think when she was able to change to Blink Twice, I understand her intentions of trying to reclaim the word, definitely. And over time, I'm sure it eventually will occur. But Blink Twice just sounds more serious, too. And I think that was just more fitting to the movie.
Because that's been the argument for the N-word forever, and it's still a word that like offends people. Like, you know what I mean, when said by a specific group of people. So I'm like, it's one of those things where I'm like when it comes to explicit language words that have been used or made be derogatory or whatever, there's no reclaiming, because that's the label that is attached to that word no matter what you do. I don't know if that.
Well, I mean, we eventually got to move forward with bitch. I mean, it's no longer always an insult towards women. Women have reclaimed it very often and call themselves that, and like, I am a bitch, but in a good way, like not to be messed with. So, but there is a possibility.
If a dude calls a woman a bitch in a derogatory way, then all of that power that's been reclaimed is like right out the window, because now it's being used as an insult.
If you call anybody anything in a derogatory term, I can call you an unrequited sequel.
Yeah, but that don't have the same. You know full well that's not the same level of gravitas.
I don't know, isn't it?
Alex, when you were saying what you were saying earlier, I wasn't laughing at what you were saying. I was laughing because you said it with a hard B. You said that with your chest.
Right, because I can say that word.
But for Blink Twice, there is a huge billboard on Hollywood Boulevard right before you get into Hollywood Boulevard that I pass by every day when I get to work, and it has Channing Tatum, with the camera. I could not imagine that saying Pussy Island in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard. So I think it was a smart choice that they changed the name.
Yeah, it like regardless, she made the right call. Call. And I think both the audience that's going to go see this movie and all the people who made this movie are all the better for it, because people, I think, are taking this movie very seriously. Not just because of the serious nature, but I mean just in general, the trailers made it look like, okay, this is like an interesting thriller. Let's go watch it. Like, they're taking it seriously and it's not a joke, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. Thinking of, before we get into spoilers though, I am curious, do you guys think that following off of this movie's example, more movies should have trigger warnings for stuff, or should it really be reserved for things that are on this? Because I will say, like, this, if this movie was like, if like, for example, if I saw a trigger warning for Don't Worry Darling and then watch that movie, I would be like, I mean, I guess I appreciate the heads up on the subject matter, but I feel like it wasn't all that necessary, considering that it wasn't all that extreme. But at the same time, for certain people, certain audiences, they might have appreciated that, even for something as more tame as Don't Worry Darling is compared to this movie.
I think if they're going to do that, I think they could do that. I think if they were to, they should put it in the AMC, not in front of the title like Blink Twice did, not in front of the movie. Not for every movie. Like, I think this was an exception because, it was it was, the subject matter was very explicit. Not explicit in like explicit, like explicit,
explicit in that,
it
like
was
how,
in your face,
how graphic it was.
Yeah. But I think they should put that, like, when you're purchasing the ticket within the AMC website or app. I think that is where it could go, because like for most theater companies, they do this on the website. Like when you're buying a ticket to the show, they say, oh, this show has gunshot noises, this show has fight, this show has nudity, this show has sexual assault or whatever, domestic violence. I think that would be a perfect place for it to go. That way, if you can like maybe toggle it down, like what are some of the warnings? That way, if you don't want to be spoiled per se, then you don't have to look at that section. And if you do, if you maybe are prone to like some sort of like activations, then you can, to look in that section for every single movie you watch to see if anything's gonna like trigger you or activate you.
I think what they should do is what they do with previews is they should re-put like the rating for the movie, because like what we saw a lot with Deadpool and parents bringing their kids, even parents bringing their kids recently to Deadpool and Wolverine, which they're like, we didn't know how bad this movie. Look at the rating. Look at the rating. I think the rating should come again being like, hey, almost remember this movie's rated R for these reasons. Instead of like calling it a trigger warning or something, just kind of reinstating like, before you bring your child or before you bring, yourself with, if you're having any issues or struggles to this particular movie, remember it's rated R for these reasons, or it's rated PG for these reasons. And I think that might help a little bit, and people would stop feeling like, oh, that's going to be a spoiler or anything, because of course it says sexual violence on there. It says, just violence, or it's, abuse or things like that. And I think even some of them mention like bullets or gunfighting or gun violence. There we go. It mentions gun violence.
Newer ones that have popped up as time has gone on.
Yeah.
That wasn't around when we were younger, but now is like.
You know what? I was talking about the Metallica concert, and we saw Ice 9 Kills, and they fake murdered somebody on stage with an axe. And I mentioned a concert I went to when I was like really young. I can't even remember the band anymore. And I remember them shooting somebody on stage. And all I could think was, after I saw Ice 9 kill the guy, I was like, you can't do that anymore. You can't fake shoot somebody on stage. That would have caused such a problem in that giant ass arena. And yeah, like that, things have changed so much, and having those new warnings at the bottom are necessary, completely necessary. And I think having something like that, of having the rating and like kind of what's going on again, just to remind people, or people who are like, oh, I didn't know it was rated this, and try to take their kids to like Deadpool and Wolverine. I've seen far too many people complain about that. It's a Marvel movie.
Parents
Disney.
in our viewing when we watched it, remember, like there was a whole family sitting next to it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those kids were fine, but
you do not belong in that movie. You do not belong in that movie.
You shouldn't be bringing kids to Deadpool and Wolverine. Like,
I swear I could not find the child or children, but I swear there was at least one or two kids when I was watching Blink Twice.
Oh,
I was
awesome.
like,
yeah, and this is the thing. It's like, listen. You chose to have kids, and that came with a responsibility, and that responsibility means that you can't watch certain movies no more at the movie theater unless you can get you a babysitter. Or somebody that, or grandma, grandpa come over.
Or go watch
an
an appropriate movie, or wait till it's streaming or something.
Don't wait till it's streaming or something.
You shouldn't expose your kids to that.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, my parents are very adamant. It didn't matter. I mean, granted, my dad did take me to a rated R movie when I was like 13, but at that point I was 13. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't 8, where I don't understand that all this is fake and all this blood is not real and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
My mom used to let me watch horror films all the time, even when I was like little, but she drew the line at like movies with sexual content or adult theme content. She was like, yeah. I was like, so it was cool that I literally watched a guy like in Nightmare on Elm Street get stabbed through the bed, then dragged down to hell. That was cool. But like, somebody making out on a bed was too far. She's like, you have to put boundaries somewhere as a parent. I was like, you know what? Fair enough.
I agree with you though, Jonathan. I think where the ticket purchase might be the place for it to be. Like for the trigger warning stuff. 'Cause even as far, and granted, this is hard to implement because certain like for example, the Cinnabar that's next to me on Mount Lake Terrace, they don't have like kiosks where you can go purchase tickets like with a digital screen. You have to go to the box office, so that's a little bit more difficult. but I think they still do have screens where you can select your seat, I think. So maybe that's the way you do it, like have screens at the box office if you have to buy it at the box office. That just somewhere when you purchase your ticket, it says, hey, just so you know, you're going to have to like acknowledge the screen real quick. Kind of like how you do credit cards or debit cards. Like, hey, you got to hit the button on this screen real quick. So you got to read this real fast before I can sell you the ticket. Or if if you're at the kiosk, it has like a little timer. So you can't just like automatically skip it the second it pops up. It's like, no, you got to read this real quick, or at least glance at it and know what it says before you can skip it. And then like, hey, there's a trigger warning for this movie. That way it's not happening in the theater, but you do get that trigger warning before you go in even. So maybe even if you like, you're in the middle of purchasing your ticket, then you see that, you're just like, oh, you know what? I do have a thing that I'm still working through in therapy or just, personally, whatever. Maybe I shouldn't buy this ticket. What else y'all got, as far as movies to watch today?
Which, yeah, I mean, they do it with certain films anyway, with horror films. Like, they did it. I remember they did it with Cloverfield. They warned you. They gave you a bit of a trigger warning, like, hey, this movie's handheld. Like, it moves around. It can trigger this and this. And it did. It triggered me to have a panic attack. I thought, I was like, it's no big deal. It's a handheld movie. I've watched them before, like Blair Witch. The jerking and motioning afterwards, I actually had to sit in the theater with my head between my legs because I felt like I couldn't breathe. It triggered such a panic attack in me. It was just because of the motion. And like, they give you warnings for like motion sickness or things like that. So it's, it's not unreasonable to see that there could be trigger warnings for other stuff.
For content.
Yeah, for certain content, especially when they get a little more graphic than you had anticipated for the film.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now here's the question. Also, piggybacking off of that, do you think it should be the filmmaker's choice or the studio's choice? As to whether
I think the studio, because they are more in the liability realm.
Because I feel like this was probably Zoe Kravitz's choice. But I'm like, I don't think all filmmakers would have that. Because there are some filmmakers who are purist where they're like, no, I want you to experience the film as it's happening. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the point of this. This is not about
then don't release a trailer.
It's about making sure that everybody is comfortable in the theater while they experience your movie.
I mean, they're going to be comfortable, uncomfortable no matter what during the scenes. At least they get warnings ahead of time. Yeah.
But just like comfortable in the sense that like they're not going to be like sent back to a place of maybe an experience they had or things they're currently experiencing or whatever the case may be, because at least, they'll have a warning where it's like, now it's at your own risk. We told you what's going on. So if you continue to go watch this movie and
like I said, it happened with me, Cloverfield. They warned you it can trigger motion sickness. You good, Jonathan?
I heard a noise. Gibson is trying to dig for. Hey. Okay. Anyway.
No dig.
No, it's fine. I was saying, like with Cloverfield, I saw that trigger warning. Hey, could consider motion sickness, migraines, this and that, because of the handheld and the motions they were doing. And I'm like, whatever. And then I watched it, and I was like, I'm gonna vomit. I'm gonna panic. I don't know what's going on right now. My whole system gonna flare. My mom's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, give me like 10 minutes. We sat there in the theater till everyone was gone. I'm like, okay, I can walk. And that's just like, I got my warning. I ignored it. That was up to me, and that was my own choice. The studio or the director or whoever put that trigger warning at the front warned me. But, it is up to the audience's choice whether you do want to watch it if you're going through something at that time or not. But the warning kind of sometimes is nice.
Yeah. So,
but
I just wanted
but moving into spoilers, because we're looking at the time now.
So I guess where do we start?
First of all,
where we start.
No. I want to start about the fact that who jumps on a plane with a stranger?
No, that's where I was gonna start too. I was like, these bitches should not have gotten on the damn plane.
See, you call them bitches.
I think from there, if
yes,
I
true,
will give
but
them
I'm
the benefit
trying to. I said it in a comedy sense, so it's different.
If I will give them the benefit of the doubt, I'll say that they, I don't know how old they're supposed to be, but I'm assuming like late 20s, maybe.
That is old enough to know.
Right? No,
You-
that
but-
the age
no,
don't
okay.
matter.
No.
in this scenario.
Listen. Let me finish.
Okay.
I'm not excusing it based off their age. I'm saying that they're in their late 20s and they're working at a catering job that probably, it doesn't seem like they're in the best living situation. They have this billionaire who is piquing their interest, who is famous and has this glamorous lifestyle, and he's giving them the opportunity to do something that uh, can make them a memory, or can maybe advance them to from their situation that they're currently in. So I can see for a second how they maybe thought, okay, let's just do it. But I agree, it was not smart and not advisable to other people.
You know what? I will
So
say
this-
I can mildly understand that point, because when I was back in my 20s, there was a lot of things there was a lot of people I trusted that I shouldn't have trusted probably in that moment. And I got really lucky where nothing dangerous happened to me. But there were situations I did put myself in because I was like, I'm young. I could just do what I want. I have no real responsibilities. Like, so
right, young people
fair. Yeah,
young people think that they are like invincible.
that's true.
This is true.
You'd think you can
Mhm.
just go and do stuff. Like I remember, like I told you, I think
I'm
I've
saying
told
this like
them-
I'm like in my 40s or 50s or 60s, or 70s.
Dude, I just
or
talked
whatever.
about going to a Metallica concert being so exhausted. Watching all these kids like do a mosh pit, and I'm just like, nope, not with me and my bones.
No,
So
I don't.
yeah.
The thing is that I was like, I appreciate though that the movie does acknowledge that fact of them being like, why did we do this? Why did we
That's true.
get
There
on
is a
this
moment where the
plane?
character, they're like, we're so stupid. We don't even know him.
But it's just a thing where I'm like, because like, and it's the only part of this that I'm like, and maybe this is just because of my own life experience. Like my ex, when we went on our first date together, she was 21 at the time, and even though no indicators that I was dangerous or that she was dangerous, whatever, we went to the fair as our first date. She still called her friends and sent text messages throughout our date of being like, here's his license plate, here's where we're going. And then after the date was over, she was like, hey, is it cool if I take a picture to you so I can show my friends that I'm okay and that we're having a great time and stuff before we head on the ride back? I'm like, yeah. And it's just like, it's one of those things where that hadn't occurred to me to think about, but her saying it made me be like, A, she's comfortable enough to ask me, which means she's not just taking the pictures on her own, without me knowing. She's like, no, like I can try. I feel safe with you, but just so you know, I still am protecting myself at the same time. And not that any woman has to do that. Like if you do feel uncomfortable, please protect yourself. Like by all means, because it's dangerous out here, and not every guy is nice. But it's just thinking about that experience made me then go, I don't know. These women are they're older than that, and they're kind of being a little careless with it.
See, but that's what I was saying. Like when I was like younger, I used to do stupid stuff like that all the time, and I had this lovely habit because it wasn't until like maybe February, I want to say, that I finally was willing to share my location with my mom and my sister. I used to like doing this thing where I used to drive at like 3 a.m. alone. I used to do all this stuff alone. I would just disappear for a day and then come back and then be like, oh yeah, I was here. Why did you go there? Where did you go there? I'm like, I don't know. I just go off on my own sometimes. So I kind of get it where it's like that moment of like, it's going to be an adventure. And I actually used to have a friend who would get mad at, although her anger was a little much. She used to get mad at me because I would just talk to random people when we were out and about. And then it was like, sometimes it's safer in a group. So as like a single woman alone, I would find a group of people, it was a mix of men and women. And I'd be like, hey, can I just hang with you guys? Like be in your circle because I'm like alone. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And I would just be there. So like I get it because I would just insert myself sometimes with these group of people where I'm like, you guys seem chill. I'm gonna stand right here and just be in this. And usually, thankfully, again, they were always good people that I have found or connected with, or at least in that moment, they were a safe place. So I got really lucky doing a lot of the stuff I did. So I kind of get it. Now in this day and age, absolutely not.
But that being said, though, I mean, at least they acknowledge it in the script of them being like, that's our bad. But that doesn't excuse anything that happened on this island.
There's that whole saying people want to use nowadays where it's like, do it for the plot. And so I feel like that was what they use. It's like, do it for the plot. And that's usually used by people to like excuse doing maybe like things they shouldn't be doing. But yeah, I felt like that was maybe the rationale.
They do have a line though where they do say like, because I think it's Adria Ariona says it, where she's like that, but that's what they do. They rope you in with the money and the champagne and like, you know, the access and the parties and the drugs, and you just go. And I'm like, that's a fair point. I mean, like, to your point, Jonathan, like it like I think at least as far as we know from all the women who went with them, you know, Frida, her friend, everybody, it is the thing of like, it's Slater King. Like, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna go party. It's gonna be a fun time. So they're not really thinking on the level, and in their mind, he's rich and famous, and he just got in trouble for doing some shady stuff. Like, you know, he can't be like he's better now. He's a good guy now, and it's like that thing of like, you know, kind of just putting your trust in this person because they're rich and powerful and famous. So even if like he is a douche, like at least I got something out of it. And I could see how you could be in that mindset, and I can see how that, because dude, you know, because men do that all the time. Are you kidding me? Listen, for less, a woman don't even have to be rich and famous. She's got to be hot. And there's a bunch of dudes that'll be like, hey, you want to come to this place? Yes, absolutely. Resounding yes. You ain't got to tell me where we're going. I'm just going.
And Adriana Ariona, who played Sarah, I really liked, when you mentioned her, I really liked her character arc. Because at first I thought, because at first she was like, there was this tension between her and Naomi Frida, and that they were kind of like fighting for the attention of Slater, which it's funny how his name is Slater in this, and Christian Slater is also in this movie.
I thought that the whole time.
Yeah.
I was like, every time they kept saying Slater, especially because Christian Slater in Archer is his name as the character is Slater. So every time they kept saying Slater, I'm like Christian Slater? Because he's in the movie.
I kept thinking of Slater from Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell?
Yeah, my mind kept going like Slater King?
But when they were having that tension, because they were both fighting for that attention of Slater, I thought that Sarah, I thought her character had always been a part of the group, but then you get that reveal that no, I just met these dudes like a couple days ago or something.
Yeah, she had met Cody first, which is played by Simon Rex.
So it goes to show that, like, you know, that is ultimately what formed their bond. Like, they are both in this scary situation together, and they ultimately realize how in danger they actually were.
I also liked her backstory where she was on Survivor Babes. And I just, I thought about you immediately, Survivor Babes. I'm like, I bet Jonathan would have rooted for her. Because the way she climbed that coconut tree was badass right there. She just threw it down. She's like, yeah, I got it.
She was like, I was on 8 seasons. They were like, oh, are you going to do All Stars? I was like, yes. Whoever wrote this part, maybe Zoe Kravitz is a low-key reality competition show.
Zoe Kravitz probably watches reality TV.
Oh, yeah.
You can just look at her. She's the type of person that watches reality TV.
Yeah, I immediately thought of you, Jonathan, and I was like, this is awesome. And then they made her so badass, which is really cool because, like, they gave her this, like, survival instinct background. She's like, yeah, it was kind of demeaning being a bikini, but she's like, I can fucking climb a coconut tree. I can survive in the wilderness and nothing. She's like, I know how to do all this. And it's like, hell yeah, man, your survival training is just beyond skills of anybody else, like on this island. So like, I loved her background.
Yeah,
she's having a great year between this movie and then Hitman, because she was also in earlier this year. She's doing great on projects. I think what's really interesting for me more than anything else was like how well they kind of hide the mystery of what's going on in it, because it's weird details that like don't really add up like until it does when you see, you know, what's happening and they start to remember. Is like because at first it's like she spills the thing on her dress and then she wakes up and she realizes that her dress is clean like the next morning.
No, she didn't even wake up. No, they were going to sleep. And right as they were in bed going to sleep,
right,
her friend was like, I need sleep. She's like, oh yeah, me too. And then she's like, wait a minute, I just had sauce on this shirt or this dress.
Yeah.
Before she
which
was
is
sleep.
in the moment, that moment, I was like, wait, say something to somebody. But I think that kind of reflects, you know, how a lot of women, anybody, when they're put in that situation where nothing explicitly happens to you, like you can overlook it and be like, oh no, that didn't really happen, you know?
I thought it was more like and Frida's case specifically, like she's like, but I'm also still like things aren't bad enough that I'm not still getting stuff out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not gonna like yuck the yum basically of like my friend and my own self to make it a problem.
It's a lot like dealing with microaggressions.
Yeah,
where it's not enough. Where it's not enough
to like
for me,
call
if I
it
say,
out or like,
yeah, if I say something, I look crazy or I look like I'm over exaggerating something. When they're like, oh, it's a comment. Oh, it's just, you know, doing this. They weren't thinking about it, and it's like, okay, then I look like the crazy one. So she's like, oh, maybe, you know, it was nothing, and then it's exactly like a microaggression. And she's like, I'm just gonna brush it off because it's not that big enough a deal. And you're right, and she would ruin like everybody's time, and then everybody would be looking at her and trying to blame her, and then it just ends up making her feel worse.
Mm-hmm. And then it was the dirt under the fingernails, which that threw me off entirely. I was like, are they digging graves out here or something? What is going on? Because this is weird. But I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm like, what's going on?
When she did that first, when she first discovered the dirt under her fingernails, I didn't see what it was. I just saw her flicking her nails. I was like, are her nails coming off? Like, what is going on there? I didn't notice the dirt at first until the second time she showed it, where it was just really dirty. And I was like, oh, I got it now.
Yeah, so they do just a beautiful job placing the breadcrumbs of the story before you see the full blown like event of what happens. Although I will say this one, and this isn't a plot hole, this is just something in my mind where I was like, listen, if you're gonna do shady stuff, you know the one thing you probably shouldn't bring while doing it? A goddamn camera. What is wrong with you?
It's memento. It's mementos.
That
That's
takes
what a
an
lot
Insta photo at that. Like at least if you have one where all of it's all saved on like an SD card or something, you can like, okay, as long as nobody has the SD card, no one's got these pictures. No, these motherfuckers are coming out one at a time. The second you take the picture, all it takes is for one person to find the damn box, and they know all the shit that's going
or
down.
One photo,
right? What is wrong with you?
Because they think they're invincible. They think they're untouchable.
That's why I say it's not a plot hole. It's just a thing in my mind where I'm like, if I was to be a criminal, this is one of the this is another thing on the list I would never do. But it's not a plot hole. No, it fits thematically, like why their egos are so in the clouds. They couldn't possibly think they're going to get caught.
So the way they make these women forget is with perfume. Right? They spray the perfume and it soaks into their skin and they forget everything that's happened the night previously. But their snakes
and everything else previously.
Yeah, everything else. Because they don't remember what day it is. They don't remember when they came. They're missing weeks and things. But the thing that gets me was that they're on this island full of snakes, and the snake venom, if bitten or drank, makes you remember everything. It just floods your mind with all the memories. How you building this horror thing on an island with the snakes that are literally the reason
with these memory snakes?
I'm like,
yeah, like
A, go to a different part of the island, or B, buy another island, sell this one, and get another.
Yeah. And if you specifically need that venom, like that's what's part of like the memory thing. It's like a little toxin in there, or it's helping or something. To get the snakes from the island and take them to another island and just suck out the venom.
Because you go there every year, clearly. So, and you have enough money to move to another. There are thousands upon thousands of islands. You could have found one.
Or like collected all the snakes before moving onto the island and just kept them in like a part and breeded them if you did need the venom or something. Like, why are you living on the island that literally can expose everything? Because the snakes, because that's literally what happens. Frida's friend, what was her name? Jess, who's played by Alea?
I think Alea Shawkat.
She was maybe in Arrested Development. I remember her.
Yeah, she's also in one of my favorite TV shows, Search Party. She's the lead in that.
Oh, I've not seen that show.
She's
a good actress.
It's a great dark comedy. It's really good.
She's always been a good actress.
She kind of looks like from Broad City.
They did an episode on that where she came in. Yeah, and she's like, we just look so much alike. You know what? When we were at the Metallica concert, there was a girl who looked exactly like me. I found my doppelganger. Yeah. Like with the glasses and everything. And then she was wearing flannel too. And my sister was like, just seeing you guys, like, she was like over there a little bit, like to me. And she's like, just seeing you guys. She's like, it freaked me out because I was like, that's you. And then it wasn't you. Like, thanks, man. But yeah, where she gets bit and suddenly she's remembering everything. So they have to get rid of her, Jess. And the only memory that's left of her is her lighter, which I love that they use that lighter. The way they use that lighter, how it's part of her because she's always trying to grab it back from people and how people are always trying to take it. And because people kept taking her lighter, that's how she was able to be remembered.
Yeah.
And just like the way they use that simple little lighter was fantastic.
Yeah. Like I think although Frida is a terrible friend, and I hope she remembers that for the rest of her life, because Jess gets bit by that snake and then she's like, hey, are you okay? Is the snake bite all right? And Jess starts remembering and she's just like, hey, listen, I don't like it here. Something bad's going down. I can't fully explain it, but I just feel it. Like it like there's something bad happening here. And Frida, here she goes talking about but I'm not invisible no more. You know what I mean? Can't you just like go along to get along? You know what I'm saying? And instead she'd be like, do you not understand? I am getting memories from days I don't even remember. And they're bad. They're not just like mildly inconvenient. They are bad. We need to leave right now. Jess is like, okay. I'm like, no. After we see what happens, I'm like, there's no way I would have been like, no, yeah, we can stay maybe one more day. No, we leaving immediately, right now, in this second. We're going into the woods. We don't know where we're going to end up, but it'll be better than being here. That's for damn sure. We're leaving.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if your friend's like, hey, something's wrong, and be like, all right, let's go.
You can come back for the others later.
Which I think I actually have done that. Friends like, I don't think I feel right here. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Because that's usually how you know shit's going to go down. You got to trust that one friend who's like, I have an uneasy feeling about being here. Be like, all right, cool. Then I'm going to bounce because chances are something is going to happen.
This is Get Out all over again. In that scene when he's talking to that girl, he's like, I just don't feel right. So like, you know, they like Dre, you know, he's here and Rod gave me the information or whatever. It's like, okay, babe, well, let me go pack my stuff. Ain't no packing. We could get you new stuff. Let's leave right now. Let's go. I mean, she was in on it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, no, unless we leaving right now, I'm leaving you behind. You can catch up. You know where I live. You can come find me. I'm leaving right now. I'm going.
Well, what did we think of the major twist in the movie where this is not the first time she's been here? And that's how, she got that scar on her face. We see that scar throughout the whole movie because she was trying to run away and slipped and fell on a rock.
Well, she didn't slip. He grabbed her and then like let her go. So he intentionally like made her fall, if that makes sense, onto the rock. I wonder if he thought it would kill her though.
No, it was more of a trip. Like he kind of grabbed her dress and she slipped.
Well, he grabbed it and then he let her go. Like, so, because she had like pulled, like she was running, he grabbed it, which made it taut, and she was like leaning because she lost her balance. And then he let it go, which made her fall the rest of the way.
I don't think so, because he still tied her up and then turned her over. He wasn't paying attention to the rock.
That's why I had thought the same thing. I was like, I don't think he knew that rock was there. I think he just wanted her to fall over so he could like hog tie her back up.
I thought that was interesting, but I wasn't sure about it, mainly because I was trying to figure out, so does that mean he let her go once before, or like does this mean she's been there multiple times? Has she always been a target?
Did she escape last time?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, right?
The question is also, if she's been here before and they've been like in that time, I guess they like did the same thing where they had been gone for multiple days, but they didn't remember being gone for multiple days, like whoever they are. In Frida's case, we at least know Frida was there. We don't know if the other girls had also been there.
Yeah.
Then does Frida not like, and this is the only part of the backstory I wish we had a little more information on. Does Frida have nobody else? Or at the very least, did Jess not know that she had been gone for a bunch of days mysteriously and nobody knew where she was at? The first time?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, there you go, Alex, drag racing. That's what I was also thinking. I was like, do you not have like family or other friends that like you told like, hey, I'm gonna be gone at this place? Like, does nobody know where you're at?
Although I will say this, recently, did you hear about that woman who was found in her office dead for 4 days?
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, I forget what company it is, but the only reason they discovered her, she had clocked in for work. She had passed away just shortly afterwards. I don't know the cause. And then
maybe
the only reason
or something
could be heart attack.
That too.
Unfortunately, there's so many silent killers. It could have been something else. She passed away, and it was only until the employees started complaining about the smell coming from that area that they found her, and it had been 4 days postmortem. And people were like, how do you not? Did no friends wonder where she is? There was no missing persons report. None of the managers, none of the supervisors, nobody checked on her, which means nobody said goodbye or good morning to her or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like, there is a good possibility that Frida's character was a lot like that. There wasn't somebody to, say goodbye to or greet. I make a lot of jokes about like living alone and things like that, but luckily I do have like you guys, and like I have people at work that I am close to and that I see every morning. And I was actually late this morning and I got a concerned text like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just driving a little late, which makes me feel good, even though I'm kind of like my like little bit of a solitude of a life. I do have people that still check on me if like something's out of the ordinary. They're like, are you doing okay? And I'm like, all right, thank God. Because that's got to be scary that's so sad to like pass away for 4 days and not a single soul noticed.
I know.
So the chances of Frida not having anybody in the story, at least, is a possibility.
Well, they do say like she probably doesn't talk to her mom, because she does mention her mom like tried to kill herself in front of her when she was little, and that still like sticks with her in a traumatic way. So maybe it's like that's her only family and she doesn't talk to her because of that traumatic experience, which is possible. It's just with like how close she is to Jess. That's the only reason where I'm like, wouldn't Jess have noticed? Unless they just became roommates. Maybe that like when she got back that year after.
I'm sure they don't really.
Which is possible. So there's like it's possible that she didn't know Jess at that time. The last time she was at that island. But I mean, overall, it's not a bad twist. It's just one of those things where it's like that's just a small detail. But as far as like her having been there and Slater, like that, because maybe that could have been like. But that did lead me to a question of like, if Slater, like, what was Slater, what was he accused of exactly? Because they just say abuse of power and something else, like it's not sexual. It's very much like a more social thing of like.
Well, do
abuse
we
of
know it's not
power.
sexual?
Well, it's just because they don't use the word like sexual misconduct or whatever. I think I could be wrong. But they do they specifically use the words abuse of power and something else that's kind of the same thing.
Well, it could have been tied more to his company because he did have to step down as CEO and give it to a CFO.
Right.
So it may have been abuse of power within his own company, which it could have been something with his employees, to how he's promoting something or how he's using company funds to, throw parties or things like that. So there are multiple ways of abuse of power.
Yeah, but I mean, I just only think about that because I'm like, if he's been doing this for like every year or whatever, the question is like, how long? You know what I mean? Because normally for something like this, I was thinking as I was watching the movie, I was like, does this movie work without the why? Because that's especially thinking it from a writing standpoint. Whenever I watch movies where you have someone who's just like unabashedly like evil or dark or whatever, I always ask the why, because I'm like, but why are you what, like, or not, or if not why, then what, like, what made you into this like monster that you are?
Well, they do
currently?
talk about that. They talk about his past and the abuse he experienced from his father.
Right.
And he's like, my sister's so angry all the time at this man. And she's always like, how can you just be around this man? And he's like, what did he do? I don't remember. And then he's like, forgetting's a gift. Because I think he starts to remember. And a lot of that is an abusive cycle of abuse, where it's like what you have done to you, you end up doing to your own victims. So they kind of give that. And it's interesting the way, because he talks about therapy, even though his therapist is as well a rapist in this movie. And her response to therapy after he's like, yeah, it's life-changing. And she's like, it's just a way to just talk about yourself, was also an interesting thing. Because it also shows therapy's viewpoint from a social economical point. And I feel like as a racial point too, because a lot of people of color get told their whole lives, therapy is for a white person, therapy is only for the rich, you don't talk about your problems, you just deal with them. So like so that was like a good narrative to what she probably grew up with, as therapy is nothing important, you're just paying for somebody to listen to your problems, compared to the access he has.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I just only mentioned the why thing in my head because I was like, I was like, I wonder. I was in my thinking about just like how strong of a character he is, like as a character, and I think, like you said, like all we get is that one little nugget near the end of the movie where I was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, I didn't need that. I felt like I already got a very clear picture of who he was as a person, but that little detail added so much more depth to him without giving us like his whole backstory, because we don't need it. And I think that speaks to the writing, how strong the writing is in this movie, and that we don't need a lot of details for a lot of the characters. We get only, like you said, only the stuff we absolutely need to know as to why certain characters can do certain things. And, I think that's great. Although I will say, speaking to Channing Tatum's character, not that I want him to play more villains, but this is a great role for Channing Tatum. I'm glad to see him still being willing to challenge himself as an actor and do more challenging roles, because as of late, he's been just reduced to like cameo guy or goofy guy. Like that's pretty much the roles he plays in almost everything he does currently. He's not... very seldom does he do anything serious anymore. And so this is very much a role that's very and I don't think he's ever played a bad guy, has he? I think I feel like he
probably has.
Maybe. But I felt like this role suited him, not in the sense like that I feel like he's capable of doing the stuff that he did in here. But I felt like with his personality, he's very charismatic, he's very charming, he's very smooth. I felt like that fit the personality of the character perfectly because that's the type of person who is capable of doing this kind of thing.
I forgot he was in The Kingsman.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
Tequila.
Oh, I didn't even know that. But yeah, I just felt like his natural, like, charismatic, suave, smooth guy self. I felt like he incorporated that well into the character of Slater.
Yeah, although this is another "Don't Worry, Darling" connection because I didn't know until most recently I was watching a review and they talked about it that he and Zoe Kravitz are said to be married. They're fiancés.
What?
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah.
I think I didn't know that. Did I know that before watching this movie?
They're engaged?
I didn't know they were together,
They
let
were-
alone engaged.
I didn't know that either.
I know he had dated Jessie J for a period of time. I think they were together before he got with Zoe Kravitz. I don't know how long they've been together though.
Yeah, and then like I'm just because in my head I'm just like Olivia Wilde directed "Don't Worry, Darling" and Harry Styles right there.
Yes, but Channing Tatum
But
and
it
Zoe
sounds-
Kravitz are both not in other relationships with other people.
And it sounds like this was not a toxic.
This is not a toxic directorial, director or toxic set,
Right.
Just like issues and problems.
Tatum dated English singer Jessie J from 2018 to 2020. In 2021, Tatum started dating Zoe Kravitz, and by 2023, the couple were engaged.
Okay,
So they've been dating
wow.
for about 3 years.
okay.
Good for them.
Yeah.
But it's like I just think he does a great job, and I do like. I think it's an interesting thing. I love the angle this one takes because this is a little different than something like Dream Scenario or some other movies that have tried to tackle cancel culture. This one's more from a toxic lens of the idea of like, well, if the world isn't going to forgive me, or I can't be forgiven for my sins as a celebrity that does something cruel and harsh, then why change? And I think that's a great angle for a villain to have, because it's one that like, so I always say all the time when it comes to people judging celebrities, I'm like, never forget that you are also one day away or one bad moment away from being the worst version of yourself permanently. And like, and it's why it's like, I think it's cancel culture is always a slippery slope, because sometimes it's like, we it's a thing where in some ways it can be great because it can allow for certain people who deserve to lose everything they've ever worked for while doing terrible, tragic things, especially those who are like criminals like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, all these guys where it's like they deserved everything that they got behind, like, to lose all of the recognition, the clout, the accolades, all those things, because it's like you don't get to have this and also still do the shady shit you did and treat people like garbage. And that's okay. It's not okay. So it's like cancel culture is great in that sense. But at the same time, cancel culture can also be a thing where it's so quick, it happens so fast that it doesn't leave room for any nuance when things aren't as they seem, like aren't quite as they look, or aren't quite as they're perceived to be. And you don't actually have all the facts and the information, and you just hop immediately on the cancel train and realize like, well, the things you thought from somebody else saying that something happened wasn't actually the case. And now you've made it where a person is maybe jaded, or they were like, okay, if I'm going to be the villain, then like, if you're going to make me the villain, then I guess I'll be the villain. And that says more about them as a person than, what happened to them. But, I'm saying, it's like, if you're the one that starts that stack of dominoes, you hold a little bit of the responsibility in that.
I can see what you're saying, but at the same time, I think cancel culture isn't entirely real, because so many people are like, I got canceled, and then they're still doing like comedy tours and shit like that, and they're still getting movie deals. It's like, did you really get canceled though?
Oh, there definitely is levels to it. That's true.
I mean, I see like actors. I see a lot of comedians. Well, I can't tell the same jokes I once did. Yeah, because they're not fucking funny anymore. Times have changed. Grow with your industry, or shut up. And then they're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't say this. You're having a comedy special right now where you're literally saying everything you're like, I can't say. Like, dude, you're fine. And yeah, there are some people who are like, I'm not going to watch you anymore. But it's also like an outgrowing thing because it's like, I'm not finding what the content you're putting out. But I think a good movie of reference to cancel culture is The Hunt.
Oh, yeah. Also a great movie.
Yeah, where you had a bunch of people were like, oh, you're canceled. We're not buying from your companies anymore. And people of actual power where they're influenced by like a board or something. And the board or representatives are like, yeah, you're too much now trouble. And it turns them to be like, well, fine. They want to believe we hunt people. We're going to go hunt people now. And the mistakes they make by grabbing somebody who had nothing to do with the situation. So not only are they like the bad guys, now they're like really bad guys because they're now trashing somebody who had nothing to do with the situation at all.
Isn't Elizabeth Banks starring in a movie that's sounds
Was Elizabeth
familiar.
Banks in that?
No, that was Betty Gilpin.
Oh, right.
But I feel like she's in a movie coming out soon that has a similar plot line. But
I like
anyway.
Elizabeth Banks. She's a good actress too.
She is.
Naomi Aki, who plays Frida, I really loved her. I think she played fantastically in the role as Frida. I think she did so well. Her fears, the way she portrayed her fear when she was finding and discovering different things about the situations at hand, and her memories, and the intensity of how she's trying to keep the eye contact she would have constantly with oh my goodness, I forgot the actress's name. The character Sarah, when they first both discover the truth about everything, the intensity of her eye contact is so like strong that you feel like you're reading her thoughts. You know, how hard she's trying to stay in control of a situation she knows she has no control in I think she portrayed the role perfectly, and I think they chose a fantastic actress for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's great. Played Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Okay.
In the I Want to Dance with Somebody movie, she was Whitney Houston. And she was also apparently in The Rise of Skywalker. I did not. Who was she?
Really?
Yeah.
She's one of the like the people who ride horses, like I think she's also a former stormtrooper who's lost her program, and possibly Lando's daughter. There's like rumors that was like the plot point they were going to do with her, of her being Lando's daughter.
Was that the one where it's like the Rise of No? Or is it?
That's the
one though.
That's the last. The Rise of Skywalker is the last one of the main like line of Star Wars movies with like Daisy Ridley in them.
What was the one that was like a prequel for Star Wars characters? The one who hangs out with Chewie.
No, Solo.
Solo. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will say, just to get off of the main cast of group for a minute, a lot of the supporting cast in this is really strong. First of all, they really do come through with the comedy pretty well. Like to add the little bit of levity in this movie. It's not a lot, it's not like this movie is like a joke a minute or anything like that. But the jokes that do come through in this movie actually are pretty neat. Like they're nice. they help like keep not make the movie so dark the entire
comedy time. Relief character, and I appreciate that. When the jokes were made, they were appropriate to the situation. There was just not some character coming in being like, one-liner, I diffused a tense situation.
Yeah. Like that was a little bit of Christian Slater at the very end when he was like dying. I felt like that was a little bit.
Oh yeah, he put his little umbrella in the drink. He's like, I'm dying. All right. You're like, it's literally all going to flame. Christian Slater kind of did that. Like, he would pop out of nowhere with his camera and kind of like diffuse the situation, be like, oh, it's playful again. but it was never like it was a way to distract. It was never an actual like comedy relief or like haha moment, which I do appreciate.
Yeah, so that's why I appreciate a lot about the comedy in this movie is that it's very minimal, but it is like a nice like just palate cleanser a little bit of some of the tension in the movie to like give you moments to breathe and just be like, okay, we're having a good time. I think maybe I don't know. Last thing I just want to say, like Haley Joel Osment, I'm glad he's still working. Like,
it was good to see him.
Because he's one of those kid actors that you don't hear about a lot. You don't hear a lot about what he's doing. But,
well, he's been in a lot of like indie films I've noticed and like lower films. So this was like nice, to see him in
first big thing in a while.
Mm-hmm. Something like that's like definitely going to screen.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at his streaming page. He's been working.
Yeah,
just
it's mainly
in
been
nothing
like
I've
indie
ever heard
stuff
of.
and like streaming stuff.
Yeah.
So it's nice
last
that
thing
he's getting
I saw him in
work.
was The Boys.
Okay.
I forgot he was in that. I forgot he was. I was like, the last thing I remember him from is like Tusk, which is.
Wow.
He's gonna be in Wednesday season 2, apparently.
Oh,
okay.
Cool. I'd watch that.
As a guest role, so I don't think we'll see him much. But
last thing to talk about, because I feel like we got to talk about that ending real quick.
Well, I was gonna bring that up. This was our like second twist. That the very end where we find out that they are like married now, and she's like part owner of the company, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, before we get into that, I do want to say one thing about Camille and Heather, the other two women that were on the island.
Is it
Camila, they were good.
Camila and Heather. I absolutely love when they got on Brainwash. They didn't ask questions. They didn't go like, what the hell happened? They went straight to murder. They took an ice pick to that man. They chased him down, hit him with a stone like thing. And I'm super sad because they died. Yeah, they died in the end. But those women,
they went out fighting.
No questions. They were like, I know
Camilla
what you did.
Them. She's like, she's from New York. I was like,
you fuck with me.
The New York women, they don't play around.
Yeah. She straight up started stabbing that man. And the other one was like chasing Christian Slater down. She's like, oh, you finna die. And I respect those two women. They asked no questions, no concerns. They got their memories and they're like, you paying for that. So I love that part of the movie. That was one of my favorite scenes. But yes, the twist at the end where Frida ends up being Frida King.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's that. If that ain't a civil rights name, I don't know what is.
Right? Jonathan Majors be into it. He keeps saying he's looking for his Coretta Scott King, so you know. Here's the thing. I wanted to bring up the ending because I think this is because I've seen this is another thing on not so much controversy, just discussion is about the ending. Because for some people they're like, oh man, like this is like for some people they love the ending. They think it's a great this being a kind of a revenge story in a way near the end. It's like it's a fitting end for how or fitting punishment rather for Slater King. For others, they're like, isn't this kind of like
you're going back to your abuser or something?
No, not going back to your abuser. Like Frida becoming this exactly
the
like
abuser?
Him. Yeah. And I'm like, that's an interesting discussion to have of like, would it have been better if she just killed him or is she getting the revenge that she definitely deserves, or is she becoming like essentially the same? Because at the end of the day, power thirst and abuse of power knows no gender, and women can be just as dangerous in their abuse of power. I mean, Gina Davis's character is that for sure in this movie, where she's like she's not as rich as Slater King is, but she has every ability to help these women, and she chooses not to.
Well, she chooses to forget because they try to make her remember, and she's like, I didn't want to remember. I didn't want to do this. I chose to forget. So it's like, it is an interesting discussion of like, do we think that it works out for Frida right now, but could Frida end up becoming another Slater
perpetuating
King
it
by being in this role?
Because we don't know we don't know whether she's doing this to stop him from tormenting any future victims, or if she's just doing this so that she is no longer a victim and now she's in the power position. I think my initial thought was the former, that she was doing this so that he wouldn't do this anymore, and that was solely off of their faces at the end, like, and their body language. Like, he was very much like and muted and everything, and she was very much like she had this newfound air of confidence about her. And I think in that realm, I was reading into it that, like, he's like, okay, this is my new reality, and she is like, yeah, you did this to me, but I got one up on you. But that could just be reading into it. And
I mean, I think that is the idea, is that she's like, she's finally gotten everything she wanted, and now she can finally be the person she wants to be. And as an added bonus, she got over on her abuser, you know? So I think that is what they're going for. I just thought that was an interesting discussion to see in small, like, not all over the place. I think most people feel that way, but just small, like in smaller places, that discussion.
I think it's difficult. It's difficult when it comes to revenge stories because everybody has their own desire for the type of revenge. Like, some would prefer to see him, just dead. Others would prefer to see, like, oh, he should have gone to prison. They should have, like, exposed everything. They could have found other things. Or they like how she now has the power and the control. So
that's why I thought. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's why I thought she had saved him so they could, like, because they had the evidence on him and send him to jail. That's what I thought. But we had to get that final twist in.
Yeah. So I think it's just how you prefer your revenge to the story. And I don't think anybody would ever been happy, like, if he had just gotten killed. They would have been like, well, they're going to show some other person on this island now who has this new power or something like that. So I think nobody was going to be happy with the style of revenge she got. Because murder is one thing, but now she has a power of control, and now she also has all his money and everything like that. But she's now also the one who's dosing and drugging him with this, memory thing, and turning him into this, like, mindless zombie who can't remember a thing. His hands are shaking. And, like, I like the revenge she got, but it's also that it's the same way you could be turning into the monster. How far is she willing to go to keep this? Is she eventually going to kill him and take all his millions? There's a lot of, like, what you could interpret the ending to be, or how far you want it to go in your own mind. So I think when it comes to revenge stories, it's a lot of what your personal preference is, and nobody's ever going to really be happy with the story and how it ends when it's something like that. I mean, the ending was good. I thought it fit the story. And she did at the beginning show that she wanted, more power, or more to not be invisible, because she was trying with her Instagram and her nails, and then with everything. She liked the fact that all eyes were on her again, too. So that was another thing that she finally got in the end, because everybody was applauding her and looking at her.
Yeah, it makes me think of the ending of Midsummer, where it's not... Like, it could be a happy ending, depending on how you look at it, but it could also be, like, a bad ending, too, depending on how you look at it. It really is your perception determines how you look at how this movie ends, which is not a bad thing. I think Midsommar has a great ending, and I think this movie also has a great ending because of the, like, implications in the ending, that it's not so black and white of, like, and now evil has been vanquished. The end. And it's like, right. No, well, I mean, evil has been subdued, possibly, but has it been vanquished? We don't know.
Right.
Like,
it could just be subdued.
She can kill a therapist. Therapist's still alive, right, as well.
It could just be subdued because now it's a woman-owned business, and now it's not owned by this guy, but she could be doing the same things.
Well, yeah, as far as, like, maybe she takes a bunch of dudes to the island, and now it's like the roles are reversed.
Really quick, with the little blonde one, He wore the same He wore the same fragrance as the women.
Lucas.
Were they
Lucas.
Were they raping him too?
No,
I don't think
so
they were doing
they
anything
were
to him, but he just wasn't. I think he was
he didn't do
choosing
anything
to make himself forget because he didn't do anything.
Because there was that one point where he was upset and he was like, "Did I do anything? Did I do anything?" And Channing Tatum's like, "No, you didn't." And he's like, "Whew." And he's like, "You should be ashamed at that. You didn't do anything. You didn't try to stop it. You didn't try to do anything." So I think that was his like role in it.
I think.
Okay, I was trying to figure that out.
Making because she does mention when she said that she's like, "You smell good." I was like, "Oh, so he's not in on it, like at least not fully in on it. Like he might like nothing happens to him."
They might have tried to bring him because they kept calling him the Wonder Kid. So they're like, "Hey, come join our world. You know, you're the next in this tech boom, or this, you know, you're the Wonder Kid."
Like they were grooming him or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe they were giving. And I think that Lucas is an interesting character in that because he's younger and he is probably closer to the women's ages who are on the island. He probably has a different mindset. I mean, granted, he's still very like, what's it called? Implicit in that he doesn't do anything to stop what happens either. So it's like you are also like liable, like you're responsible as well because you didn't even try to like stop them or anything. You might have died, but you didn't try. Like, so we'll never know. But but at the same time, he probably is like that younger generation of like, no, this is wrong. I'm not like they're not. I'm not gonna like sexually assault these women or do because it's like because it'd be one thing if it stopped at just sexual assault. Like God only knows all the stuff that was happening to a lot of these ladies because some of them were just like in Camilla's case, we don't know if she was sexually assaulted, but we do know that she was at least like strapped down essentially and forced to watch it all happen and rendered powerless to just experience that. That alone in and of itself is traumatic. So it's like, who knows where the lengths. But we don't get to see any of that because we don't need to. It's all implied. And so it's just a thing where it's like with Lucas's character, it was an interesting he was an interesting inclusion that I think was great. I think all the characters are great because it's like you get to see this type of scenario from all different angles between Gina Davis's character, who's like the woman who should be helping these women out, but she's like benefiting the most from being in this world. So she's like, I'll just knowingly forget about all the stuff that's happened, which so I can get what I want. Is interesting out of this scenario
because she had so many memory problems because she was willing to forget and everything that they were willing to keep her on. That he was just like, yeah, let's just keep being my personal assistant. What was with the chair? The last thing I'd like to discuss actually really was what was with the whole chair thing.
I think that was just one of those jokes that's like,
was it a joke? Was it a metaphor? What was it?
Because I can't find any reasoning behind it. I think it's just to make the movie a little funny, a little quirky. Because I honestly don't know what the chair was about.
I didn't know if that was like a metaphor or something deeper. So Channing Tatum's character Slater has a red chair. I don't know if that's important or not. A red chair in his home that he feels like it's weird. It's just out of place and it's weird. And so Gina Davis's character keeps putting it in different places. And he's like, nope, still feels weird there. And eventually she's like, well, we could just burn it, which is a foreshadowing of how the movie finishes. So eventually, as he's like sitting in it while everything's breaking down, everybody's dying, all this is happening, he sits in it. He's like, I like where it is now. This is good for the chairs.
Wait, maybe does he at the end when he's starting to remember stuff, does he trip on the chair and that's what starts the fire? Is that what happens?
He trips on I think Camilla's body.
Yeah.
And then hits on and it falls on the table.
Because that would be good if he tripped on the chair and that's what started the fire. That would be good because it's like, this is the perfect spot. Actually, no, it wasn't.
I think the fire blew up because Gina Davis' character soaked it in alcohol.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just like at some level because that's how I also felt about the snake hunters too, where they're in the movie and you think there's something creepy going on with them because they all have the same tattoo. They all keep staring all creepily and it's kind of weird. But then kind of find out, no, it's just, they're just like, hey, here's some snake venom. And that's literally the whole role of the snake people the entire time. They don't do anything else in the movie. They're not even part of what's going on with the crew. They're just there. You know, they're there to help explain that the snakes are important.
The snake venom.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all they're there to do. Which I'm like, I feel like the way that what's their face got the snake venom is probably how you could also do it. I don't know. It was one of those things where I was like, these feel like a red herring. Like they're supposed to be these like bad guys, but they're actually not even that important. they're just there. But I guess in the Red Rabbit comment to say like, hey, I know you because you were here with Red Rabbit nails.
I thought she kept saying Red Robin.
I thought she said something to that effect too. I was like, I didn't even get Red Rabbit until Frida said it, and I was like, oh, she's saying Red Rabbit. Okay, yeah, got you.
No, it wasn't until like the very last second where she's like Red Rabbit, where she's holding the photo. She's like Red Rabbit. I'm like, oh, because I even thought Frida was saying Red Robin before too. That's what I just kept hearing, Red Robin, from both of them, and then she's like,
yeah. And then you went to eat at Red Robin after you.
Yeah, no. Then somebody quietly was like, yum. But I like just to wrap it up with some final thoughts here. For me, first of all, I think this movie, for me, I think it, like it's one of those movies where, first of all, I love the themes, I love the directing and everything, and so I think I'm giving this one an A+. That wasn't my thought when I came out the theater, but the longer I have away from the movie, and the more my mind starts turning and thinking about the themes of the movie, a lot of the symbolisms and everything, the more I'm just like, man, this movie just like stuck with me. It just keeps sticking with me, of just like really interesting ideas, the commentary on, you know, abuse of power, sexual abuse, all those things, and like how it affects people, trauma, like women's perspective. I think this movie doesn't work unless it has a female director, to really be like careful with the material and with the because the direction is easily the best part of this movie for me personally, with how the story is told and how the editing works with the storytelling and stuff, and even like the shots, and you know, a part of that's also the acting too, but the shots of when Frida and Sarah know what's happening, but they have to pretend like everything's fine, I'm having a great time, and a lot of people have talked about
that was a good scene.
Yeah, a lot of people talked about how that very much is the experience of someone in an abusive relationship, of like, you know, something's wrong, and the picture is very clear, and even when you like know, okay, I need to leave, it's not that simple. You still have to maybe keep up the charade for a little bit longer so you can find your perfect way to exit, because if you just up and leave, it might be worse for you, or you might die or something like that. And it's like, it's stuff like that I'm like, man, this movie is really smart. It's really intricate in the way it's put together. And even the stuff that is like it sparks discussion, or maybe it's not as clear as black and white, like the ending, still it leads to interesting and good discussion. It doesn't lead to well, that doesn't make sense and that doesn't work, or whatever, like, you know, plot hole discussions. It leads to just more philosophical discussions of like, what would this character do? I wonder where they're going. Like, if there was a sequel, you know, hypothetical sequel to this movie. Not that I'm saying that you should do not make a sequel to this movie. It's perfect the way it is.
Yeah.
But Blink 3 times.
If they were to make a sequel, like what would it be? Like, where would Frida be in 5 years?
Be called
like,
Blink 3 times.
Yeah.
Or Blink 22.
Blink 22.
Blink 22. So, you know, I enjoy this movie a lot. I don't know if I'll watch it like frequently or whatever, or be like, hey, y'all want to watch a movie on Friday? Let's watch Blink twice. Like, no, probably not that. But it is a movie I really enjoy, and I love the way it's written. I love the themes. I love the commentary, and I think the direction is super strong. So, yeah, A+ for me. I think, like, you know, the more I think about this movie, the more I like it. The more I think about like how deep it is, like how detailed it is.
Nice. Who are you gonna pass it to?
You know what, Jonathan, you go. You always get get roped in the middle or at the end somehow. So I'm gonna throw you in the middle this time.
All right. Okay. I really liked this movie. This movie was well thought out. It was well written, well directed, visually and story wise, very engaging. Um, Zoe Kravitz, she put her foot in it. She did. She did a really good. She did a really good
Not
job.
her foot. She put her whole ankle in it.
Yeah. But and I going into it, I had a feeling that I would like it, and it did meet my expectations. Like usually when we do our reviews, by the end I'm like, okay, yeah, we pretty much went through everything. Yeah, we got through all the movie, but like even now I'm thinking about like so many things that we didn't discuss, that we just can't right now because we are adults with jobs, and and but yeah, there's just so much to discuss. That scene that you were mentioning, Jerome, with when they are have to pretend for the group that everything is okay, but they're trying to signal to each other that something is very wrong. I could feel the tension during that scene, and when Channing Tatum's character like puts his arm around Naomi Aki, I could just feel her tension. She almost made me like feel as if I was in her place, and like his arm was around her, and I could just feel that made just that one gesture made her so uncomfortable. It was those little nuances that really like sold it for me in the movie, along with the great acting and the great writing. Um, Overall, it was just really good. Whichever parent brought their kid to this movie when I went and saw it, because I didn't. I did not see the kid. I could just hear a kid talking, and I'm like, shame on you. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna give this movie an A. It's not an A+ for me just because like it needs to be like outstandingly amazing for me to get an A+, but it's pretty much there, and I'm gonna give it an A. This movie is really good, and I would watch this movie again.
Oh yeah, I'd
I would
watch it
this movie
again for sure.
Just not like
Yeah,
plan
it's
a
just
party
not
to watch it.
regular.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not regular viewing. You know, hey y'all, we all gonna hang out on Thursday, right? Movie night. You know, we gonna watch Blink twice. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Alex, how about you?
I really like the movie. I would give it an A, mainly because I would have given it an A+ if honestly they had not added that extra scene at the end with Frida, and that just because I think I would have liked it more had they left it and she was like in the fire holding his body and the woman's like, I hope you know what you're doing. That would have left it so much more open and so much allow your imagination to go so many more places. But in general, I really like the film. I like how they portrayed stuff. When you were mentioning that scene of Channing Tatum touching Naomi, I was like, I've been in that situation where a man has touched me when it is very unwanted, and in certain social situations, you're not allowed to just yank the arm off. You have to casually be like, aha, because again, you look like the insane one. You look like the one that's aggressive and everything like that. And a lot of the problems is that women are seen, if you're behaving a certain way, oh, that's too aggressive, especially if you're a woman of color. I get called spicy, which I really fucking hate just because I'm Latin. They're like, oh, you have spicy, and you're like,
that's
no,
the word people love to use.
Yeah, especially
like
for Latin
spicy
people.
Latina.
Like, fuck no, fuck you.
That's part of the reason America Ferrera. I just found out I was watching a documentary or a retrospective on Superstore. America Ferrera said that was one of the reasons she took the role is because there was no race assigned to the characters, and she was like, she's like the character wasn't like a spicy Latina, which was great for me, and that's why I took the role because I felt like I could actually just be a character.
Yeah, and when I'm seen as being aggressive, oh, you're just spicy. No, I'm setting a boundary and I'm telling you, don't touch me. And unfortunately, I have been, so I like felt that moment too, where it's like you just want to rip them off, but you can't really do anything when you're in a public setting too much. So I think and I think you're right, this film works so much better because it had a female director who is able to probably put her own experiences into those characters, because a lot of those women share those experiences being in situations where we're not allowed to act a certain way. I see it more and more less. I see more and more women speaking out when they're in these uncomfortable situations and having that ability to just not conform to the social aspects of things. And I'm really happy about that. I'm so proud every time I see that now. And I, of course, I try to do it more and more. Like if I don't touch me, when I say don't touch me, and I don't care how I'm being seen, but I think this movie is a great portrayal of that. And again, I loved those two women who just, when they got their memories back, they just started, no questions asked, no being like, what do we do? They're like, murder, just straight murder and mayhem. I respect those women so much. But I think it is a good movie. I'm not sure I'm going to watch it again. It was, like I said, a little, when you're on a woman aspect, it's like a little bit like, yeah, this movie hits weirdly close to home, but I would definitely recommend it and be like, hey, you should watch it. It's such a great portrayal and so good with the microaggressions to like the way it fucks with memory and how it is able to hide a lot of stuff from you until it gives the big, twist or big reveal. So I also like that a lot, that they're able to keep like what's going on, even though you kind of know something's wrong, they're able to actually keep it sealed up. Compared to a lot of horror films or thriller films where they start exposing little and little and you're just like, oh, okay, I got it. I know what's happening. This movie gives you that sense of dread first. They make you anxious. They make you like, oh God, what's going to be revealed? I know is going to be bad. So I really did enjoy that part of the movie where it gave you proper anticipation for what was coming. So definitely an A for me.
Yeah, and then at the end you realize, I was just going to say, at the end, you realize, like, everything is put together, and you're like, oh, that's why, like, everything makes sense.
Yeah, that's why she had, like, dirt under her nails. That's why the spaghetti was missing from her dress and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not, you don't have to think too much about it. It's not like and I love me some, don't take this the wrong way, because I love me some Jordan Peele, and I will watch every single one of his movies. But Jordan Peele movies, like, you have to watch twice to get every single... thing.
Only Get Out is the only one where I'm like, no, it all kind of makes sense once we wrap it all up at the end. But the rest of them, Us especially, I'm like, I'm left with more questions than answers by the end of that movie.
I didn't like Us at all. I was so disappointed in Us. I was so disappointed.
You were disappointed in Us.
I was so Well, I'm more disappointed in me, but that movie, like, everybody's like, oh yeah, it's great, it's horror, and I watched it. I was like, this is.
I mean, it's still a fun movie for me, but it is a movie where I'm like, this one has like, especially compared to like even Nope, where I'm like, Nope at least is like pretty crystal clear. There's a lot of holes in there too, but at least Nope, you kind of along for the ride. Us, you're like, he's just like, look, just accept this shit, okay? This is a movie, goddamn it.
Yeah. Zoe Kravitz, if she keeps making the films the way she's making films, I'm going to watch all of them, because she does give you all the explanations in the end, and she wraps everything up in a nice little bow where you're like, all right, I get it now. There wasn't any plot points dropped throughout this film, and I appreciate that, because in horror films they tend to do that. I won't lie. They're like, this was important, and you never come back to it. No, you're good.
Sorry. I will say also real quick, and this is an important thing because I feel like it's something that needs to be said, because as of late we've been getting a lot more, well, not as of late, but just like more female directors have been like making really, really solid movies that I feel like have been talking about, women's trauma, women's experiences. And I would ask that more men also be a little more open-minded to watch these movies and not look at them from a lens of, if this is you, don't look at it from a lens of like, they're another movie criticizing men. It's like, look, at the end of the day, everybody has experiences. And if this is not you, if you're not a, sexual abuser or an abuser in general, then this ain't about you. But there are men that exist in this world that do those things. There are men that do abuse their status, their power, their wealth, whatever you want to say, whatever word you want to use, to abuse the women in their lives, or women they don't even know, who they just meet because they feel like they have the access, or they feel like they have the ability to do so, and take advantage of them and do that. So it's like, don't look at it as like, don't take it so personally. Don't go into this movie being like, this is an attack on me. It's not an attack on you. It's a commentary on men that might look like you, but that's not you. And just accept it as a like lens into someone else's world, into someone else's experience. No different than if there's a movie about, you know, what men go through, you would want women or, you know, anybody else of a gender on the gender spectrum to respect that this is a lens into your world. We're allowed to tell stories about other people's experiences in, you know, media and art and film and TV, whatever. And you should have an open mind to appreciate and respect those people's stories because they're just as important as yours. So just a commentary to say, I think.
Well, all right. On that
also,
note,
Zoe Kravitz gets the award this year of being the first person to get my A+ award. It is not an easy get.
hey, and we're in September, so wow, that took a minute.
Yeah, it took a minute. It took a while. Not even Alien could do that, and I like that movie.
Yeah. So you know what that means? That's going to be on your best of 2024 list.
Probably. This probably will be on my best of 2024 list, my expectations list. It exceeded expectations because I didn't have high expectations for this movie. Not that I thought it was going to be bad. I just didn't really like. I was like, oh, it looks interesting. I'm gonna watch it. It looks really.
I originally wasn't planning on watching it. My mom actually was like recommended it, and I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. She's like, you should review it with the guys, and then you guys were like, let's watch it. I was like, all right. Everybody wants to review it, so.
Well, listen, all of the movies I want to see that look the most interesting to me are coming out in the fall and the winter. So.
Why'd you say winter like that?
I don't know why. It's just, you know. I'm tired.
Socials. Jerome, where can we find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rat on Instagram, and check us out on the YouTube channel, man, at the First Ones to Die podcast. You can catch a whole bunch of extra content that you cannot get on the audio streaming platform. Stuff like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming content, video versions of all of the podcast episodes, and vlogs as well. So, you know, it's just a whole cavalcade of content over there. So you can get more podcast goodness, and you can see all of our lovely faces, which is like, you know, a gift in and of itself. God damn it. God, I'm tired. I need to sleep. So go on over to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a single video. And also, if you like it so much, share it with all your friends. Tell them about it. Tell the world about the First Ones to Die podcast. But until then, Jonathan, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. You can follow us at The First Ones to Die on all of these social media platforms. You can email us, thefirstones-to-die@gmail.com. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe. Also comment down below. And if you were listening to us on audio, your favorite audio listening platform, please give us a rating and review. We appreciate that very much as well. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok. Mostly those are just videos of Cheddar. But you can also find me and Cheddar at the First Ones to Die TikTok, where I post little clips of videos we have done, videos we may be doing, and then my own where I just watch movies and I just laugh at the stupidest scenes. So that's pretty much what I do over there. Oh, look, there's Cheddar right there.
Speaking of Cheddar. Tune in next week for as I am trying to stall to
the front room.
The front room. How could I forget? Oh my gosh,
Brandy.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that.
Impossible.
We need to do that for a retro review one of these days.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna see Brandy deal with her white mother-in-law. Thinking of The Deliverance. Let's watch the better version of The Deliverance, I would assume.
I mean, I've heard from like a week ago or whenever when it first screened, the early reactions, they were good. The early reactions were good. So
I won't forgive you, Jonathan, if this has demon stuff in it, just so you know. because I don't know. I've only watched the one trailer one time, so I really
Same.
am very, very loose on what this movie is
I
really about.
have only seen the scene where she's like driving in the car, and then I haven't watched the rest of the trailer. That's like the first part of one trailer is where she's just driving somewhere, and then I haven't watched the rest of it.
Well, you'll see the rest of it this week, and then we'll talk about it, and yeah, you all will hear it. Yeah, that's our show. Bye.
Yeah, but until I gotta do my outro. Ain't nobody going no goddamn where until I say my piece. So, have a good night, good morning, good evening, whenever you're listening to this, and we will catch you in the next one. Okay, now bye.
Bye. My
oh shit! I got to do that all over again. Fuck!
what,
Did you not record?
I didn't record myself. I loaded up the program and everything. I did all the shit except hit the damn record button. Go on over to the YouTube channel at The First Ones to Die to see all the fun stuff we got going on here, like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming videos, vlogs, all types of stuff.
Please follow us at The First Ones to Die everywhere. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe.